news is brought to you by the National Bank of the Virgin Islands, Cyril B. Ramney Tertola Pier Park, NV Salon, Spa, Nail and Barbershops, the Wellness Center, Medical and Behavioral Health Clinics, Tissely Cross, Deliciously Smooth Cider, HOV Medical, and Digicel. Sign up for Digicel Plus Home Light Bundles, faster internet, movies, and sports. We are into the hurricane season for 2023, and already we're seeing conditions that are sending us to be very careful and look out, be watchful and be prepared. In this moment, what are the outlooks as it relates to the weather pattern that we're seeing?
Well, good afternoon, Kathy, and good afternoon to your listeners as well. Kathy, we are moving into the beginning of the hurricane season. Usually around this time is when we begin to see the waves move off of the Atlantic coast, and typically we would have developments that would occur during that period as well. We would have highlighted earlier in the year the fact that there are a number of named storms, hurricanes, strong hurricanes that would be occurring during this period. We had Arlene, which developed just south of the U.S. maybe a few weeks or a few months ago, and now we're dealing with Tropical Storm Brett. As of the latest update, Brett is approximately 1,350 miles from the Virgin Islands. It has tropical storm force winds that extend outwards of 45 miles per hour. In terms of distance, this is based on current information. The center of Brett, based on current information, should pass about 200 and something miles south of the Virgin Islands. That is subject to change as the forecast progresses. What does that mean for us at this time? Based on those extended tropical storm force winds and the distance, if it continues on that path, we may not feel the effects of the winds per se. I should also highlight, being that it's still a tropical storm, or it's projected to be a tropical storm during its passing, of course it may create some rough sea conditions, and we may get some outer bands from the system as well. In terms of timing, again, based on current information, we may begin to feel the effects of it. If it continues to shift further south, that would be minimal, but if it stays within a reasonable vicinity, we could begin seeing effects as late as maybe they said Thursday evening, late going into Friday. But again, it's all based on the closest approach the system would make when it's passing us. So at this time, what does that mean? I will not say it's not a threat to us because it hasn't passed us as yet. The prognosis that we are seeing so far, seeing that if there are any impacts, they will be minimal. Again, I keep re-emphasizing based on the current trend and information and data that we are seeing. But that does not mean the public should cease to make their preparations, cease to put their hurricane plans together, and they should continue to monitor all weather information that is coming out from the Department of Disaster Management. So preparations, if they are still ongoing, do expedite them. Do make your checks while it's the early part of the season, because as the season progresses, as we know, as we get closer to August, September, we see a lot more frequent and stronger systems developing. And always remember, it only takes one hurricane to cause serious damage. So we should be prepared at all times.
Okay, how prepared is the disaster management department? I know since we would have experienced what we would have experienced in 2017, your building is still not yet completely up. So how are you existing and how prepared are you?
Well, Cassie, the building, as public would have been aware, started in 2021. The contractors are still pushing as quickly as possible to ensure that they have it completed, but not only completed, because of the technicalities involved surrounding the building. There were some delays, we must admit. I know everyone tends to not hear the word COVID, which is just recently behind us, but that would have created some delays as well. But as you can see from what you're seeing there, they're trying to push forward as much as they can. In the meantime, what was done, besides not having our building, and not just the office where our department sits, there's the backup EOC sites, which would be within the vicinity of the People's Hospital. And if we were to move of the NEOC were to activate, that would be our backup site where we have done some augmentation and so on in terms of putting some of the communications equipment and other aspects that we need within that facility to assist us if we had to activate and move to our next location. So it would be good to have a building. I know they're pushing as quickly as possible to have that done, but that would be one of the alternative. That would be alternative that we would use if we had to move from this building. I'll also take this time just to share a little bit more in terms of some of the preparations that have been ongoing. Persons would have seen that the Public Works Department would have started their cleaning projects pretty early in the months before this. They're still ongoing. You had our shelters would have been checked. That's not just by us, but in partnership with Tongue Country Planning, Environmental Health. We would have checked those and will be soon to be publishing our most updated list. We would have checked the system or other communication systems. We would have began checking those as early as well. We would have met with a number of stakeholders and partners in terms of seeing where they are in their preparations, so that they would also coincide with the preparations that we are doing. We would have reached out to our disaster liaison officers within the entire civil service to see what preparations are being made at their end, and in order to discuss and see what certain concerns may be and how we can expedite other aspects of ensuring that we are ready. So preparations have been ongoing, even though there's some the public would have seen and some that they would have not. I assure you that we're full speed ahead with making of preparations and having things in place going into the high point of the season.
In terms of your equipment for readiness, would you say that we are in a better place than we were in 2017 in terms of your emergency systems?
I would say yes. The government has invested quite a bit since that time to ensure that we have upgraded model sirens. They invested heavily in a weather station network. We continue to use our app, and there are some developments in the making in terms of upgrading that. We would have in-house added different satellite type systems to our arsenal that are also used. We would have had meetings and actually spoke to some of the providers and seeing what they have done in terms of mitigating or strengthening the systems that they use, and being able to also offer not just this department but also the government as a whole access to certain means of communication methods to ensure that they have a resilient comms moving forward into the season.
Okay. Thank you so much for this update, Mr. Penn. And, I trust that, we all do our best at being ready, and we pray that, we're not that severely hit this time around.
But before I close, I just want to also emphasize again, Cassie, that despite the preparations that we are making, the civil service is making, I say this to the public, to the private sector, that they should expedite their preparations as well. ensure that they have their plans, ensure that the employees are aware, and even from the civilian aspect of it, that the people themselves should expedite their plans, should expedite their preparations that are needed, so that if things are to develop even further, maybe not with this, but there's also a system behind that we are also monitoring, that all of us would be in a better place of being prepared moving forward into this 2023 Atlantic hurricane season.
Thank you so much, Mr. Penn.
We know that where you choose to bank matters, and it is your vote on what your funds do in strengthening our community. As your official Bank of Paradise, we invest and support the lifeblood of our economy by helping in the realization of personal goals for homeownership, education, and entrepreneurial visions, which support small businesses. We make it our place to connect with persons and worthy causes, and we have been doing so for more than 30 years. Where your money goes and what your dollars empower are your choice. And we thank you for choosing us, a bank that gives where it matters the most, for you, for our community, and a happier tomorrow. The National Bank of the Virgin Islands.
Everyone looks to the future, but no one truly knows what the future holds.
The number of people under the age of 20 with type 2 diabetes could increase by 49% by 2050. Let it be known that we all have a 30% chance of developing hypertension.
Globally, more than 300 million people of all ages suffer from depression.
More than 60,000 young adults aged 20 to 39 are diagnosed with cancer each year. Obesity leads to problems such as stroke, heart disease, and kidney failure.
No matter your race, age, or color, we are all at risk.
These diseases can be managed or prevented if caught early.
But with the right medicine and the right doctors to keep us on a path to live a robust and healthy life,
we will live well.
Opiate. Hi, I'm Cowboy, and I'm running for president of Stake. Thank you. And I will meet your needs. Some bathrooms are so expensive to build, they come with security. But at Staycation Butchers, our meats are affordable. People always ask me, Cowboy, where does your salmon come from? Well, our salmon comes from the water. I vote for Cowboy as a vote for quality, integrity, and consistency. So come into Staycation Butchers and cast your vote for me, your next president of Steak. Alexandra Durant approves this message.
No, I don't.